Good morning, watercolor class. It's another beautiful week, and I'm hoping you get outside and enjoy some of this lovely sunshine we're having here in Minnesota. So today we are going to be creating a sort of abstracted self-portrait out of watercolor, and you also will need a Sharpie and probably a pencil. We're going to be basing the style of our self-portrait on the cover of a really good book called Wonder. So if you have seen the movie or read the book, it's a wonderful little book about a boy who is very different physically than people around him, and most of the themes in the book are about kindness and accepting others and embracing our own uniqueness. And so there are lots of positive messages, and I encourage you to check that out. But what we are inspired by today is the art on the cover of that book. It is a very abstracted picture of a face, and there's actually no real features. That's the word I'm looking for. There's no real features on the face except for one eye. And above that eye is the word Wonder, which is the title of the book. So we're going to take that idea and we're going to create our own version that is a self-portrait, meaning it is a portrait, a picture of you. So our picture is going to focus on just your head. Some self-portraits are full body, some are just of the face, and ours is going to be just your face. We are also going to incorporate some words that describe you in this self-portrait. So self-portraits are something that artists have used since the beginning of art to be creative and to express themselves. So one of the reasons for that is that when you're trying to draw something or somebody, and you're looking for a reference, guess who's always with you? You! So you can always use yourself as a reference for your drawings or paintings because you're always there. And a lot of times when we create art, our purpose for doing so is to kind of let out our individuality and creativity, and to express something about ourselves to the world. So creating a self-portrait, one, uses somebody that you always have with you, and two, it's a great way to express who you are to the world in a visual format. So we are going to create self-portraits today, and like I said, we're going to use a specific style, the style of the art made by, let me look up his name really quick because I'm forgetting. Tad Carpenter is the artist that we are inspired by today, and his portrait on the front of the book Wonder. So the first thing I'd like you to do before we even start painting or drawing is to take a scratch piece of paper and your pencil, and I just want you to brainstorm. If you want to have your mom or dad help you with this, go ahead, but I want you to think about words that will describe you. What makes you special? What makes you unique? Write as long of a list as you can think of words that reflect who you are. So we're going to start with words, and then we're going to do our image, and then we're going to add those words around our image. So think about also things that are important to you. What talents and skills do you have? What do you value? Think of all those types of words to create your self-portrait in words as we brainstorm. So I'm going to pause this video and do my own brainstorming a little bit so I can create my self-portrait with you. Alright, I have created my list. I filled up a post-it note with some things that kind of represent me, who I am, my roles, and things that I love and value. So I'm going to use this when we get to the words portion of our artwork. Before we do that though, we need to start drawing our self-portrait on our watercolor paper, and then we will be actually tracing it around with our Sharpie, and then putting our watercolors on. So I'm going to turn the video around like I usually do so that you can see my actual art while I'm making it, and I will meet you back here in a minute. I am ready to start creating my self-portrait, starting with my pencil and drawing lightly, and then I'm going to go over it with my black watercolors. So I've added some documents on Google Classroom that give you some ideas for different face shapes and different hairstyles. I want you can do your own thing, but I want you to look at those for inspiration so you understand kind of the style that we're going for. And I want you to think about filling up a lot of the page with the face. It's going to be kind of a floating head for this assignment. Usually I'd want you to have a neck and some shoulders, but for this style, it's going to be a floating head. So think about your own face shape when you're drawing that part. So I'm going to think mine is my face is kind of an oval. Some people kind of have heart-shaped faces, some people have more round faces. So try to make your face shape close to what your real shape of your face is, as best you can. Now, I said I wanted to fill up the page. You know how I come around your paper and I put my hand there to see if something's big enough? Well, imagine that I'm in your house right now and I'm putting my hand on your piece of paper. Maybe even your mom can do this for you. Does my hand cover your whole head that you just drew? If it does, it is too small. I want it to be bigger than my hand on this piece of paper, okay? You can see mine, I'm drawing it really light, but it's bigger than my hand when I put my hand here. And I have bigger hands than you do, so for sure if you put your hand down, it should be way bigger than your hand, okay? So here's my chin. I feel good about this shape, so I'm gonna darken my lines just a little bit, so hopefully you can see them. I know sometimes I have to turn this off, so yeah, that might be better. I like having my lamp on because I can see better, but it kind of makes it hard to see on the video, so I'll try to remember to turn it off. Okay, I've got my face shape. Now I want to have an ear and an eye, and I also want to have hair. We're only doing one eye though, not two eyes, just one, just for this style of art. So you can decide if you want to do 2 ears or 1 ear. Some people, I think I'm going to do only 1 ear because usually I tuck my hair behind my ear on one side but not on the other side. So I'm going to do that on my picture as well. So you decide the shape that you want your ear. And you can add a little bit of detail. I'm going to make it have kind of a swirl just for fun. Because remember, this is not a realistic portrait, this is a stylized portrait. That means it looks like a real thing, we can recognize it, but it has a very distinct style that's not trying to be exactly like real life. Now I'm going to do my eye, and I'm trying to decide what eye I want to do. Should I do my left or my right eye? I think to balance it out, since I have my ear on this side, I'm going to do my right eye to balance it out there. When we think about shapes of your face, remember that your eye, some people always want to put their eyes a little too high up on your face because we imagine that the eyes are at the top of the face. But if you think about it or look at somebody, you'll notice that there's actually quite a bit of space between the top of the forehead and your eye. your eyes are actually closer to the middle of the head than they are to the top section of the head. And in fact, thinking about that, I might move my ear down a little bit because I think I put it a little too high. So I'm going to find generally the middle of my head. That's where I'm going to draw my eye. You get to decide too. There's some examples on Google Classrooms of different eye shapes and styles. So maybe pick one that kind of reminds you of your own eye shape, but will stick to it being very simplified. Now you get to pick your hairstyle. There's lots of examples again on Google Classrooms, the ones that I've put up there, so you can look at those for inspiration, but do your own thing. How do you wear your hair? We're not going to do a lot of detail in the hair because we're actually going to paint the whole hair black like a silhouette. My hair I usually wear kind of curly, and I leave it, you know, kind of tucked behind this ear. And my part is on this side, and then it kind of swoops over. Think about where you part your hair. Alright, so that is pretty much it as far as the detail that we're going to do. I think I'm going to add a little highlight on my eye, because when we add, that's going to stay white, and that just is, if you imagine the light reflecting off an eye, that's what we usually see, and it helps people look just more alive. When you're drawing even a cartoon version of a person, it helps them look a little more alive when you give that reflection off their eye. Okay, so now I have my head. I'm going to darken this up so you can see it better. Got my ear, my hair, my eye. Those are all of the details. I'm not going to do a nose, I'm not going to do a mouth. And now I am going to get my paint stuff ready because it is time to start painting. I have got my paper towel, my paintbrush, my paint, and my cup of water, and I'm going to start by painting the black areas. So the main big black area is going to be the hair, and I'm also going to paint a black outline around all of my pencil lines. Now usually I say to use quite a bit of water in your paint because it's so, you know, strongly pigmented, and I don't want you to waste paint in those little tubes. However, because we want this to look very solid black, we don't actually want a lot of the paper, the light of the paper showing through like we usually do. So go ahead and you have my permission to not use quite as much water as I usually want you to, just to make sure that that paint is a solid black color when you paint it on. It doesn't look gray. I'm going slow and starting with the edges, the outlines. And then I can go faster when I paint in the middle because I don't have to be so careful. Alright, I've finished all of the black areas on my painting. Now I get to do some more fun colors. So we're going to do kind of a wet on wet, whatever you'd like essentially on your face. So pick a color scheme that you're going to go with. I suggest no more than 3 colors, and you can decide, but I would suggest they be analogous colors. And you know what that means? That means they're next to each other on the color wheel. They're neighbors. Alright, while the video was paused, I just did a little bit of touch-ups and details with my black, and I got some new water, and now I am wetting the inside of my face. It's tinted a little bit blue so you could see where I was wetting it. And I'm going to change my mind a little bit. I am still using 3 analogous colors, but I'm going to be using purple and red and blue for my 3 colors. So wet on wet for this part. I didn't wet my whole thing because, again, it would probably dry by the time I got to the other side if I did that. But we're just going to go for a very tie-dye kind of look to it. We're going to let the paint flow where it wants to flow and do what it wants to do. I'm leaving a little white border as a barrier between my black hair and what I'm wetting, and I'm going to do the same thing around the eye because I don't want that black paint to bleed into my face. I just love watching the paint flow like that, don't you? Got really close to it. Alright, I had a little bit of a kid issue, whoops, so hopefully this is still wet enough. I know parts of it are, but I'm going to add a little bit of water and pigment because you need it to be wet when you're going to do the salt. Pool of water right here, but I don't want it to be there. So I'm going to soak it up just a little bit. Alright, now we can't really do anything else until that dries and we can wipe all the salt off of it. So I added a little bit to my eye. You get to decide if you would like to do your eye more naturalistic, where you have a colored iris and a pupil, or you can do it more simplified, where you just color that whole area black. like you did the rest of your hair and stuff. That is up to you. Part of I feel like my identity is having brown eyes and brown hair, so I made mine brown because that was part of my self-portrait, what I wanted to show about myself. So now we come back to our word list that we made before, and I want you to take those words and fill up the background of your painting with words. I'm going to use both a thick Sharpie and a thin Sharpie. This is actually a Micron pen, but you can use whatever you have around, and you can use just a thick Sharpie if you'd like as well. And I just want you to use those words to fill up your page. So maybe the ones that are really important, you're going to write them really big. The ones that are not as important, maybe you'll write them a little bit smaller. You could even write some of the words more than once if you don't have enough to fill up the whole page, or you can have them spread out. It is up to you. So I'm going to do that, and I will show you it when I'm done. All right, class, so there's one more thing that I forgot to tell you to do, and that is to either write your name on the top of the eye, almost like an eyebrow framing the eye, or instead of your name, if you'd rather, you can pick one of the words that was on your word list that you feel really says something about you, that is kind of the core of your being. If you have one word that just really pops out at you and that's you could write that word at the top here, the most important word. If you would rather, you can also just put your name on there. That's kind of like signing your artwork. So I don't have to sign my artwork anywhere because this whole thing is a signature for me. This is my name up here, this is my face. So I hope you enjoyed this kind of different abstract self-portrait in the style of Tad Carpenter, who is the illustrator of the cover of the book Wonder by RJ Palacio. And I can't wait to see all of your interesting stylized faces and what kind of words you decided to put on them. So I'll see them soon, and I hope to see your faces too soon. Bye-bye.